Steel, the backbone of modern civilization. From the cars we drive to the towering skyscrapers and bridges that define our skylines, steel is a vital hero of our everyday lives. Journey back in time with us from the fiery forges of the Industrial Revolution to today's cutting-edge technologies. Discover with us how steel has been at the heart of our greatest achievements, shaping history, building cities, and fueling economies. In the early 20th century, the steel industry revolutionized the U.S. economy. The creation of the United States Steel Corporation in 1901 was a pivotal moment, as it became the first billion-dollar company worldwide.
And by December of 1922, U.S. Steel's total assets were worth more than $2 billion.
Steel manufacturing has thrived since, mainly in the northern U.S., particularly in Pennsylvania and Ohio. This region, known as the Rust Belt, is rich in coal and iron ore, crucial for steel production. Join us as we explore the incredible journey of steel, how it changed history, built wealth, and continues to drive innovation in America and beyond. Steel manufacturing has been a cornerstone of building U.S. wealth. One name stands out in the story: Andrew Carnegie, a visionary who saw the vast potential of this strong, versatile material. Carnegie started his journey in steel in the 19th century, seeing the vast potential of this strong, versatile material. Born in Scotland in 1835, Carnegie moved to the United States in 1848. He quickly climbed the ranks in various industries, becoming wealthy through strategic investments in railroads. His experience highlighted the need for stronger materials, leading him to invest in steel. Carnegie understood that steel was the future of construction. At the time, it was expensive and produced in small quantities, but the Bessemer process, developed in 1857, changed everything. This innovation enabled mass production of steel at lower costs. Here's how it works. Iron is placed in a container, impurities are burnt away with heat and an air blast, and the molten iron is then shaped into steel. Today, about 70% of U.S. steel is produced using electric arc furnaces, with recycled scrap steel making the process more sustainable. Taking advantage of the rich deposits of iron ore, coal, and limestone in the Midwest, Carnegie built his first steel mill in Pittsburgh. His strategy of reinvesting profits during downturns allowed him to expand and dominate the industry. This allowed him to expand and buy out competitors, making his company the largest and most profitable steel producer. By the late 19th century, thanks to steel, Carnegie was a global influential leader. In 1901, J.P. Morgan, the American investment banker, bought Carnegie Steel, merging it with other companies to form U.S. Steel Corporation, the world's first billion-dollar corporation. This merger marked a significant moment in American industrial history. By 1910, America was producing 24 million tons per year, far more than any other country in the world. This fueled the accelerated growth of American cities, railroads, bridges, and factories. The car manufacturing industry, which took off in the early 20th century, became heavily reliant on steel, thrived alongside the steel mills in Michigan. The durability and strength of steel made it the ideal material for building cars. The demand for steel in car manufacturing significantly boosted the industry's growth and cemented its importance in the U.S. economy. The steel industry was the backbone of the construction of iconic landmarks across the U.S., which started a few years back with Brooklyn Bridge in the 1880s and marked the beginning of steel's use in big infrastructure projects. This trend continued with the construction of other iconic structures, such as the Golden Gate Bridge, the Empire State Building, the Willis Tower, and even outside the U.S. as the Eiffel Tower. The growth of the steel industry profoundly impacted the U.S. economy, building essential infrastructure like railroads, bridges, and skyscrapers. This not only drove economic growth but also created numerous jobs, significantly boosting the country's wealth and industrial prowess. Post-World War II, the American steel industry continued to grow at a rapid pace. No industry in the world was more influential or powerful. The world had been devastated by war, and the demand for steel to rebuild entire cities was greater than ever. Foreign mills had been destroyed by bombings, and while cities across Europe and Asia were rebuilding, cities across the U.S. were continuing to grow steadily. By 1940, the U.S. was producing more than half of the world's steel. The American steel industry employed nearly 700,000 workers through the 1950s and reached its peak production in 1969 at roughly 141 million tons of steel. Throughout the 1980s, the U.S. imported over 20% of the demanded steel. However, globalization in the upcoming decades marked a turning point in the story of American steel. Moving into the 21st century, the reliance of steel imports increased due to lower prices, and since then the US has become the largest steel importer globally. This transition from biggest exporter to biggest importer illustrates how quickly the world economy has evolved. Today, the US imports a significant amount of steel from countries like China, which is the leading manufacturer of steel. These imports are necessary to meet America's high demand, but they also pose a threat to the domestic steel industry. The influx of cheap steel, often sold at a loss, makes it hard for US manufacturers to compete. In response, the US government has imposed recent tariffs on imported steel to protect domestic producers. In 2018, the Trump administration implemented steel tariffs as a national security measure. These tariffs aim to prevent the undercutting of US steel prices by imports. While this move helped stabilize the industry, it also increased prices for consumers and businesses that rely on steel. During the pandemic, the steel industry faced severe disruptions. Supply chains were thrown into chaos, leading to dramatic price fluctuations. Steel prices spiked 300% over pre-pandemic levels, reaching as high as $1,900 per ton. This was a stark increase from the pre-pandemic range of $500 to $800 per ton. The steel demand surged as the economy began to recover, but supply couldn't keep up, creating a bubble in steel prices. The current Biden administration's plan is to reinvest billions in U.S. infrastructure projects, which is expected to boost steel demand even further. For every $100 billion of new investment in infrastructure, an additional 5 million tons of steel will be needed. This increased demand is a double-edged sword. While it promises growth for the steel industry, it also exacerbates supply issues, which can lead to high prices. U.S. steel manufacturing is embracing advanced technologies to meet modern demands. Today, a significant portion of U.S. steel is produced using electric arc furnaces. Unlike traditional blast furnaces, EAFs melt down scrap steel, making the process more flexible and environmentally friendly by reusing steel. These furnaces melt down old steel from cars, appliances, and steel-framed buildings, refining it with other metals to achieve desired properties. This method is more energy efficient and environmentally friendly, with about 70% of U.S. steel now produced this way. Leading companies such as Nucor and Steel Dynamics are pioneers in this field, demonstrating strong financial performance and competitiveness. Steel manufacturing has long been a cornerstone of the U.S. economy and continues to play a vital role. Approximately 12.5 million workers are employed within the U.S. manufacturing sector, with steel being a major component. This industry not only supports direct employment but also underpins a vast array of industries, from construction to technology. Steel is indispensable to construction, with more than 60% of all steel produced in the U.S. used for building infrastructure. This includes traditional warehouses, but also new massive centers for companies like Amazon and the ever-growing number of data centers for tech giants like Google and Microsoft. These structures rely on steel for an efficient building capability, durability, and strength, ensuring they stand the test of time. Nearly 95% of all commercial buildings in the U.S. are constructed using steel framing. Internationally, Mexico has become a significant importer of U.S. and Chinese steel. This is driven by its rapid industrial growth and infrastructure projects. In 2023, Mexico imported an estimated 12 million metric tons of finished steel products, a 16% increase from the previous year's 10.35 million metric tons. Looking ahead, the World Steel Association projects a 20% rise in the use of steel by 2050, driven by the need for new commercial buildings and ongoing industrial activities. According to Zillow, in 2023 alone, the demand for new construction in the U.S. grew by 3.5%. This sustained demand ensures that steel remains a critical material in both residential and commercial construction. In the data center sector, the growth is even more remarkable. As of 2024, there are approximately 8,000 data center locations worldwide. This sector's capital expenditure reached $260 billion in 2023 and is expected to soar to $792.3 billion by 2032. The link between steel production and data center construction is evident, with companies like Amazon increasingly using lower carbon steel to build their infrastructure, aiming to reduce their carbon footprint. The story of steel in the U.S. is one of innovation and resilience. It fueled our nation's rise to industrial power and continues to be a vital ingredient in our infrastructure, transportation, and manufacturing. Historically, steel has been a cornerstone of American wealth, driving industrial growth and economic expansion. From Andrew Carnegie's early steel mills to the massive production booms of the 20th century, steel built America's infrastructure and economy. Looking ahead, the future of U.S. Steel is bright. The industry is embracing sustainability with a shift towards electric arc furnaces for cleaner production. Technology is driving advancements in efficiency and material properties. The growing demand for infrastructure projects promises a strong market. Steel remains essential across diverse sectors, serving as a cornerstone in manufacturing appliances, automobiles, and critical infrastructure like bridges and buildings. While challenges remain from import competition to price fluctuations, the U.S. steel industry is well positioned to adapt and thrive. With continued investment in innovation and a focus on environmental responsibility, American steel will remain a cornerstone of a strong and sustainable future.